We know who the best players in baseball are, but who are the best values on draft day? How about a three-time All-Star, including last year, who has a career .287 average, was Rookie of the Year, finished third in MVP voting that year, and hit 33 home runs, a career high, in 2022. Yet somehow going just barely in the top 50 players according to ADP. Corey Seager was still really good in his first season with the Rangers last year, but some people were disappointed because, number one, massive expectations based on his fat contract, and number two, the batting average was down. I already told you he's a career .287 hitter, has hit regularly over the 300 mark, except last year plummeted down to .245. Is it the pressure of performing in Texas? Is it the switch to a new league? Is he just a little bit now past his prime? No. Seager's just 28 years old, still in the middle of his prime. The power is better than ever. This Rangers lineup with Marcus Semien, with Nate Lowe, and with some more young pieces coming in should be stacked. I know the average is going to bounce back because, first of all, his expected batting average was still really high. In fact, he was one of the biggest underachievers in terms of batting average. His XBA was .283. That's a massive gap between what he should have hit and what he did. And then there's the fact that he could be the number one biggest beneficiary from one of the rule changes this year in Major League Baseball, and that is banning of the shift. There's a very detailed article on pitcherlist.com that breaks down which hitters should benefit the most, and number one was Seager because he is a dead pull hitter, and as far as guys who hit the ball on the ground regularly toward that side as a left-handed batter to the right side of the field, he's one who could see a lot more balls fall in for base hits. So we're looking at an average around 300, 30 plus home runs, at least 80 if not 90 RBIs now. The only thing he doesn't do is steal bases, but the fact that he's a stud in the other four categories means he should be one of the top shortstops taken. I haven't ranked far higher than 50. Right now 41, but that could go up even more before it's all said and done. Now once you get right around the 100 mark in terms of draft pick, you're going to look for some guys who have upside, but also maybe a little bit of warts, some uncertainty in their game. I'm going to look for somebody who could be a strong bounce back candidate after a slightly down year in 2022. His current ADP is 105 overall, but I have Tyler O'Neill ranked at 94, almost a full round earlier. Talk about being in your prime. He's going to enter the season at age 27, and this will be his sixth season in the majors with St. Louis. One look at his resume, and you might think that 2021 season was a big outlier. Highest average by far at .286, went for 34 home runs. He had never gone for more than 14 other than that. But most notably, it's because that was the only season he played over 100 games in the majors. Last season, he was bothered a couple of times by a nagging hamstring injury, may have led to a drop-off. If you look more closely, the power and the speed was still there. In 383 plate appearances, he still jacked 14 home runs and stole 14 bases. I'm not necessarily sold on the fact that he can get his average back up to 2021 level. If he can hit just even around 250, that power and speed will definitely pay off for you, and I'm willing to take him within the top 100 picks. Last year, going catcher early was a popular strategy, and it didn't pay off. Salvador Perez was hurt much of the season, and even when he finally came back and helped in the power department, his batting average still hurt you. JT Realmuto, he stole a bunch of bases, but again, he didn't quite deliver up to what his ADP had promised. And then you have a guy like Yasmani Grandal, who was just a flat-out bust. So you want a good, reliable catcher who can actually help you on offense. You don't want to wait forever, but you really don't want to pull the trigger too early. I suggest going with Alejandro Kirk of the Blue Jays. Problem Toronto had last year and all through the offseason was that they had too many good catchers, a problem that almost no other team had. They finally resolved it by trading Gabriel Moreno to Arizona, and that leaves Kirk there along with Danny Jansen to share duties. But don't worry, because Kirk will get plenty more at-bats because he will serve primarily as the DH. That's right, he's that good of a hitter that he doesn't even need to really be behind the plate catching. He can be in there just for his bat. Don't let the stocky 5'8", 245-pound frame fool you. This guy is a pure hitter, and he doesn't sell out for power. If you look at the numbers, an expected batting average in the 92nd percentile. Extremely low 10.8% K rate, which is the 98th percentile. And the fact he went for 14 home runs last year in not quite a full season's worth of at-bats. Last year, he wound up with the third highest batting average among all catchers with at least 50 at-bats. I could easily see him doing it again, if not finishing number one in that group. So when you're talking about one of the best offensive catchers in the game, reaching for him a round or two earlier, I am not only fine with it, I'm going to do it whenever I get the chance. He's right now going around ADP of 123 overall. My rank right now has him at 112. Now I may be a little overzealous on this next pick, but I don't care. I definitely think Jonathan India is worth targeting. Talk about somebody who's due for a comeback. Just like Tyler O'Neill, who I talked about earlier, India was bothered by a hamstring strain, really nagged him all season long. It happened early in the year in May, and he never really quite got right. His StatCast page, kind of ugly across the board, but this would be an overreaction to think that this is the type of hitter he is. You look at how he performed the year before. This is a fairly young player with a great pedigree as a prospect. He still has a ton of potential he hasn't even quite tapped into. Great American Ballpark is a great haven for hitters. We know he's got enough pop to get you 20 plus home runs. He can get you some steals and hit for average. Now I understand people being skeptical of him, but the fact he's being drafted around an ADP of 168 is ridiculous to me. I'm putting him all the way up to 96, right behind Tyler O'Neill. When you're looking for power later in your draft, go for a big bopper who you know has a proven track record of driving the ball out of the park. Hunter Renfroe fits that bill. On another new team now, this time an Angel, Renfroe is going to be an everyday right fielder. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's actually a surprisingly great fielder for his stature. In each of his last 5 full seasons, not counting 2020, he's gone over 26 home runs. I know it's hard to trust the Angels, but if you think about it, things actually break right for them. You're talking about a lineup with Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, Anthony Rendon, and then Hunter Renfroe in there in the middle. He should have plenty of chances to drive in runs. When it comes time to fill your 3rd or 4th outfield spot later in the draft, I'll gladly take Renfroe over some of these trendier sleepers like Lars Nootbaar or Oscar Colas. Those players could all be great draft values this season, but you want to know who could be breaking out in 2023? Check out this video.